What is the most useless talent to have?
Cooking.
Whistling.
Armpit trumpet.
Turning your eyes inside out.
Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, let's not get into that. But let's get into it.
Back to the show again are intern Hadia and intern Niyati. We're gonna start. We have to use those titles. You know, like intern John from Z1043 or whatever. Oh yeah, it's different for you because you're on the other side. We have different radio stations. So weird for the same person. But yeah, I like those. They're cute. Okay, so what did everyone say? The question was, what's the most useful talent to have?
Useless.
Useless. Sorry, useless.
Hadia said cooking.
I said,
Yeah, how
I
they
couldn't
said
think of a
cooking.
better one, so I said cooking. I do regret it.
Hadia's on her Gen Z shit where she's like,
No,
as a woman, I don't need to be
cook.
cooking.
No, I love cooking. I like to cook. I don't
Cooking?
know why.
Okay,
I said
cooking is the most useful talent to
Most
have. If you
useful.
Okay,
if you
listen.
can't cook, that's a problem. If you
Yeah.
can cook, you have so many other things that go right for you in your life. Think about how many divorces probably happen because the guy's just like, or the girl is just taking out their frustration in how bad the food is, or like, or somebody's just yelling at their family because like the food is never good at the house.
Yo, here's some boss stuff I heard from your dad. We asked him like, "Hey, can you cook?" He was like, "Never in my life I had to cook." Like there was always somebody that would like cook for him, and I was like, we were like, "Dang." We're like, that's a boss move.
Yeah, but it was my mom just like rolls her eyes at that because she's just like, you think you're a king or something. Because we always had like cooks,
Yeah.
or like she always. Also, my mom happens to be like a really good cook, and anything like you tell her, she'll just make it. So he's living his kingly life over there. But I would, as soon as I already like to cook what I can. I'm not like I don't know a bunch of things, but cooking is so fun.
Yeah, especially when you feed it to somebody else and like you see how they react.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
it's
best
the
if someone
best.
else actually likes
I
it.
agree.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
everyone should know how to cook. Just
too.
to stay
Hadia,
alive.
you're wrong. It's a
I
useful
know.
talent.
I know.
Take the L.
Okay,
Thanks.
Niyati, what'd you say?
I said whistling.
Whistling.
I'm not.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, but
like
some
it
people
could be
re-
useful.
Like if you're
Like
in
if
danger.
you want to and you want to call out.
Do you know how to whistle?
No, that might
Okay.
be why.
Some people that some people are really jealous of those that can whistle because it's such a it's just such a cool thing to do.
The loud whistlers.
True.
The one with the two hands.
Yeah.
Those are really good, but also like I can't sing on pitch, but my whistling, I can whistle anything. And I think that that's so weird. Like anything I think of or like a song or whatever, I can whistle it perfectly. You guys aren't impressed?
I mean, I need to
good
see
for
it
you.
to believe it, to be honest.
Yeah. Give us a little.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Name a song. Now I'm gonna be like laughing trying to do it.
No, the Tomato Town song. Do that
Yeah.
one.
Okay, this isn't that good. I just realized. Now that I hear it in the mic, I take it back immediately. It's really not that.
It wasn't
bad.
bad.
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
But that's probably on par with like how I would be singing it. So it's really not.
That
good.
made me agree with Niyati's. Before I didn't agree, but now.
That goes as the top 3 most like embarrassing moments on the podcast for me right there. That was
I
unnecessary.
guess.
I'm really glad to have witnessed it, though.
And
Yeah,
like
me too.
and like it wasn't true.
Glad to be here.
It wasn't
Like what I said, I was so confident in, and then literally nobody was impressed, and then you guys forced me to do it, and then it was not good. Like that's the type of shame that a desi parent puts on their kid when they say like, "Oh, show them that dance you were working on," and like you don't even know the dance right, and then you're
Yeah.
standing there like, "Yeah," and then the uncle or the auntie's like, "All right."
They're
That's
like,
enough. Looks good. Stay in school. This will not be your career. Wow. All right.
Second
Anyways,
L.
Oh my
armpit farting, extremely useful when you're a
what?
kid. but later on in life, absolutely useless.
Okay, even as a kid, I was like, "What are you flexing?" Like that's like they would also
Summer,
do it in
can
front of
you
the
do it,
girls.
though?
I can't do it.
But you definitely did
That's
it.
why.
You definitely did it as a kid.
Yeah.
I tried, but like what? How do you do it? I don't even know how to do it.
It's so funny because if you see a group of kids, they'll just be like talking and stuff, and then mid conversation they're just like, like doing their armpit thing. And I'm like, what are kids? Like, how is that the way that you interact? That mid conversation, your friend is trying to say something, and you're just like, let me just like, spaz out with my arm.
I never saw it as a flex. Like kids would do it as like a flex. Like, hey, look what I can do, and then they'll like
It's
do
a
it all the
flex.
time.
Everything is anything that you can do that another kid can't is a flex when you're a kid. Like, I remember kids would do that, like that drip sound, like the with their mouth, and then people were like, "Oh my
yours is
god!"
good.
Yeah,
Like,
yours
do
is
it.
good.
Yeah, you should have done that. Like,
I should have.
Yeah,
done that.
you should've done that.
But like it was
Unfortunate.
funny because like one kid in my class, he used to do that in the middle of basically all these I remember using as like pranks. Like the farting thing was like, okay, somebody just farted, and then the drip thing, like I remember my friend, he did it really well and it was super loud, so mid class he would do the, and then the teacher would look up and think that like something's leaking, and that would go on for like a week sometimes, but it was so good. The one I hated is the one that I said, where it was particularly like a bunch of these girls that would do it, where they would flip the eyelid inside out. Anybody remember this? Where you can see
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I
underneath
remember
of
that.
it, and then they would
Bro,
stay like
grosses
that.
me out so no.
Yeah.
I hated
No.
it. I was like, I don't
I was
want
like, you're
to.
gonna pull your eye out.
I don't want to attempt that one, because there's so many things that could go wrong. I remember as a kid, I used to always get this still happens to me, eyelashes in my eyes all the time, where I have to like fold them up just to prevent them from getting in, and it's like the worst. You're sitting there like blinking and trying to get it out for so long, and that thing, the eyelid thing, no thank you.
I could never touch my like eyeball. Like, you know how people like put in contacts and stuff? I can't even put like eye droplets. Like, that's so hard for me.
Really?
So, it's so hard. I always close my eye or something. So when people are like touching their eyes, they're like, "Hey, look, I can touch my eye." Like, I just don't understand.
You have to
it.
get over that hump, because like I can't do contacts, are really hard for me. I made that wolf video the one time, and my sister had to put them in, and I was freaking out, and it was like so difficult to try to do. And then once they were in, it was like you don't even feel that they're there. But eye drops, I've gotten, like, I can't have anybody else put in eye drops, but I can do it myself. You know, like, you ever get your eyes checked at the when you go to like get your vision, whatever, and then they put like the puff of air, and then they put all these chemicals, and then they dilate your eyes, and it's just like they massacre your eyeballs. And
What eye doctor are you going to? What eye doctor are you going to?
wait, nobody else ever had this?
I mean, it happens.
Chemicals.
They're
But
not dilating my.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they dilate my pupils.
Or what?
Some people go just to get their pupils dilated.
That
Yeah,
is
but
true,
they don't
they
do that.
do.
That's not like routine stuff. That's just like special if they need
You
to
went to
do
like
it.
the Saw movies or something?
I don't like it, man. I don't like it. And then and then they don't put the needles in your eyes?
needles.
I was concerned for a second.
Some people get their eyeballs tattooed. Think about that.
Yeah.
The people that have like completely black eyeballs,
Yeah.
like they got.
Yeah. Ugh.
I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
live your life, but could not be me.
Live
Me
your
too.
life. Anyways, guys, thank you for tuning into an episode of Strange Flavors. My name is Shimmer.
I'm Faraz, and Amber is not with us today because she is at yet another wedding. Amber has so many friends that you probably have a friend that knows Amber. So
Rule of thumb: don't have friends as much as
Great.
Amber.
Shamir is only saying that because he doesn't have any.
Let's go. This is the strangest and greatest podcast in the game, however, and it's also brought to you by Alif Theory. You can email us or send us your music at strangeflavorspodcast@gmail.com. If you enjoy this podcast, you can share it everywhere. We're listenable anywhere you listen to your podcast. We're also visually there, too, on YouTube.
Yes.
Comment, like,
Inverted.
and subscribe.
We just found out.
apparently.
Inverted. We
Yeah.
just
Apparently, we don't see the image that everyone else sees. We see an inverted version.
Yeah.
it's not
and we're
mirrored.
used to seeing ourselves. No, we see ourselves inverted.
Oh, yeah, we never see our true selves.
Like, we always see ourselves
Yeah.
inverted in the mirror,
Yeah.
but we don't know how
Yeah,
we
it's-
appear to other
it's-
people.
It's our mirrored self. So we see our mirrored self, but everyone else sees our inverted self.
Oh, that's scary. But you can see our true selves on social media at Strange Flavors, all over social media. If you'd like to support this podcast, just like our wonderful donors, Bobber's Bagels, Cassie's Cupcakes, Irha's Ices, Freya's Falafels, and Usum's Apples, there's a link down below where you can support this podcast. So shout out to them. We also have an awesome YouTube channel that goes by the name of Ronald Pono. We have a Patreon with exclusive content. We have an awesome Discord, and someone made a pretty rude comment that I'm going to read right now. So after our last podcast, we had a guest named Rahma, who's awesome. And someone commented in the Discord, they said, never listened to the podcast in my life. Weird flex, okay. But they said, but just saw y'all got Rahma on there and immediately started listening. She's so awesome. Shout out.
That's like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you guys suck so hard that I never even gave you a shot. Then you had my favorite guest on, and she was great. Now I'm going to go back to not listening to you guys because you guys still suck.
So you can also make these mean comments in the Discord, or make some nice ones, who knows? Or suggest guests. Imagine someone suggested Rahma, and we got him just because of the Discord. So you can do that too. And we also have new merch that just dropped, and Frost would take that away.
Yeah, and I also wanted to say Strange Flavors Town, just for the Toledo Town reference.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
So we need to make a song of that. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable sharing the next section because of our guest today, but I'm gonna share it anyways. You'll see why. But listen, guys, we have amazing new merch out. It's not very sustainable, but that is how we make some profit for our whole brand. So it looks nice, and buy it and wear it forever. That's the message I'm going to say right now. Buy our merch. Don't buy anybody else's merch. Buy our merch. Wear it for a long time. Pass it down to generations. One day you can tell them that there was this podcast called Strange Flavors, and there was an amazing cultural comedy channel called Ronald Pono. And
That one person never listened to in their life until Rahma.
And I have an article of clothing from their exclusive drop that is never going to appear again. So if you want to be a part of history, go to strangeflavors.store for the drippiest drip you've ever dripped. And then also we've got our Ronald Pono original series out for all the fans who have been asking for the logo and for just merch that says Ronald Pono on it. We're getting really hyped up soon to drop our album, highly anticipated by nobody but ourselves and maybe a few other people. But if you're an OG fan and if you want to invest in us early, go get the merch, rock it, and drip it. All right.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to us advertise ourselves, because it's important. But if you want to advertise what you do or know somebody who would like to advertise themselves, we are taking sponsors for the podcast. So email strangeflavorspodcast@gmail.com and we will happily advertise what they are advertising, unless we don't agree with it. If it's like, we're selling nukes, and then we have to read that,
Well, I
probably
mean,
not going to.
if it's a good price, you never know.
I mean,
What's a good price to advertise a nuke?
I'm not saying.
You know what? Maybe the price to buy another country. So then, as soon as you've sponsored the podcast, you move to the country, you can afford it, and you build a new civilization. And then your country doesn't get nuked. But I think a nuke wipes out the whole world, right? I don't know
Algeria.
I
It
don't know.
has pretty
We don't-
long-lasting effects.
Strange Flavors does
Yeah.
not support nukes.
No.
For the
Thanks for
record.
the clarification.
Just to clarify.
Yo, so I had a little sticky situation happen recently, and I wanted to know if this has ever happened to you guys. Being a guest at someone's house can be tough sometimes. The reason being, we were talking about the cooking thing earlier, right? That's one aspect of it, actually. When you don't like somebody's food, and you're a guest, you have to like eat it, right? That's a concern, right? But sometimes you're in like situations where you're just like, I don't know, like you just have to kind of suck it up and go with it, right? So two things. One time I was at somebody's house and they had like samosas ready for us, right? And there was like this long hair that came out of one of the samosas. And that to me is just like I'm good on food for the rest of the day. Like I don't need to eat anything else because I've now just the feeling of that is gross, right? But then they're like, "Do you like it? Have more." And I'm like, "Is there a hair in the other things?" And like, I should have just listened to my gut. And there ended up being hair in the brownies later on because I was like, "Oh, brownies, safe, right?" There was a hair in the brownies, and I literally wanted to just like, honestly, just like shoot myself. Like, what is going on? I've had two hairs. Are they from the same person? Why is there hair in my food? Recently, there was also a situation where I asked for some water, and they gave me a water bottle. And a water bottle is safe, right? Because sometimes the person's cups are like dirty, and you're like, "Oh, I gotta drink water out of this," but screw it. They gave me the water bottle, and it was like refilled.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say there's hair in it.
No, there wasn't
Yeah, I
hair.
thought there was hair in it.
All right, I would have been able to see that, but it was like it was a water bottle, but like I was like taking the cap off, but I was like, when you know that it's
It's
already
like too easy
Yeah.
to take off.
It's
yeah,
too
like there's no
easy, yeah.
click. It doesn't snap off. And then I felt it, and then it was like the mold of the water bottle was like clearly like somebody had like pressed it. Like you drink a water bottle, it's like all
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, like somebody drank out of this, and then I guess it's not a huge deal. Also, also again, like this is not a good look for the sustainability episode, but but it just I don't know. It just made me. I guess let's go back to the hair example. Have you guys ever been in a situation where you're like grossed out by like something that like you're at a guest place or like it's just uncomfortable, and like what do you do in that situation? Do you always suck it up, or would you say something like, "You know what? I'm good on this." Or do you like sneak off and throw it in the trash or something?
Okay, I guess I have like a similar kind of story. So I had a friend from university. She lived up the street from me, and like I only knew her for like a couple days. But I went over to her house after like a couple days, and she was like, "Oh, let me cook for you, right?" She had fish in her house, and so she like made fish and rice, but she put the entire package of shan masala on the fish. It was so unbelievably spicy. Like I couldn't eat it at all, but I had to like sit there. I didn't know her that well, and I didn't want to like offend her.
Wait, but
so
she
I
was
like,
eating it too, right?
She was like, "Oh, you know what?" She like had a little bit, but she like hadn't had it yet. Like she gave it to me while she was cooking the other one, right? And so I was like, okay. And so I like started eating it. And I was like, man, what do I do? But I didn't want to be rude either. Like I didn't want to tell her food was bad. And I don't think like she wasn't like she was like, "Oh, it's a little spicy." And I was like, just a bit.
Okay,
It's
this
fine.
situation, this is your friend. You should tell them.
Bro,
You're actually
I
doing a
didn't know her that
disservice.
well.
She barely
That's
knew her
like-
though.
Oh, you didn't know her that well.
No, I didn't know her that well at the time. Like this is like my second time like hanging out with her, so I didn't want to like offend her. So I was just like, you know what? I ended up doing something. I'm not very proud of this, but I was like, you know what? I just remembered. I have to go home.
Mid-meal?
Like I was like, I ate it, and I was like, this is like really really good. And then I was like, oh, you know what? My mom's like calling me. I have to go home now.
I would have known if I was your friend, like, yo, if the food's bad, like, just tell me.
No, after a
feel
while,
like-
she was like, yo, listen, you don't have to eat it. It's okay. And I was like, okay.
She knew.
Thanks.
Bruh. See, I think, like, a one-on-one situation is a little bit better because it's easier to tell them, like, I guess it also depends on how you carry yourself.
Yeah.
But, like, if I was in a one-on-one situation, if I'm meeting someone for the first time, I'd probably be like, yo, this is really spicy. Are you good with this? And then I'd, like, let them try it. And then they would probably be like, oh, yeah, like, it is kind of spicy. You can do this to, like, do whatever.
Yeah.
But that's, like, if you're... Because some people, even when they're eating your food or if we go out somewhere, they ask for, like, extra salt or they ask for something to, like, change something up. But I
Yeah.
guess it all depends.
When I'm in like that position, like I want critique and no one gives me that critique. Like they're like, "Oh, it's good." Like they want to encourage me to keep cooking or whatever. And I'm like, "Give me that critique. Say it's like, "Oh, it's too much salt, too much this or whatever." And I think like from that perspective, I would appreciate if someone was like, "Yo, this is trash," or "This is like bad."
What do you make?
And like eggs, morning eggs, pasta, chicken, stuff like that. I made like sauce for chicken and stuff like that I've like found online. So it's like stuff like that where I'm like, oh, should I make this for next time? Like, is this good? Do you guys like it?
Have you ever lied to me about something that I made?
I don't think so.
That's a yes. You waited way
Why?
too long. You looked in every direction.
You know every time I've been there, and like when it's just me and you, and especially Dower, like we would clown each other for whatever something messed up we did. But you made some good eggs recently, so. And I think
You hear that, people? You hear that, wife? You hear that, my wife out there?
He just wanted you to say that.
That's it. He just wanted it.
No,
But
I
he just
would
wanted
want to
to
know
plug.
too. But also, I think I would know. Like if I taste it and then something's off, then I would probably know too. Because I think unless like you just don't have a decent taste palette, then for the most part you get it. Which I guess some people don't, or some people just like really whack things, or some people
Like-
are too proud.
Like guava
Yeah.
juice in a milkshake.
See, I wouldn't make that for anybody but myself, because I know that people aren't, as advanced as me.
We're not there yet mentally.
No, we're not prepared.
We're not prepared.
Niha, have you ever had a situation like that, or do you know what you would do it?
I had a similar situation. So I don't eat fish or seafood. So I went to these like my family went to this family's house, and they were just like talking really good about like the auntie's cooking, and they were like, her cooking's so good, like it's amazing, it's the best thing ever.
The cat?
And they maybe they didn't, I wouldn't know, because like the first thing she puts in my plate, because she was like, I will put it in your plate for you, was like all of this fish and all of this stuff without telling me that, and like without asking me if I ate it or not, or like if I liked fish or not. And I was like sitting over here with this thing, and I'm a big people pleaser, so I can't like be like, I can't eat this.
That's
or, like,
a
something
that's
like
a
that.
100%
That's a
you
me
issue.
problem. That's a me problem. I understand. But she was like, oh, you don't, I told her, I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't like seafood, like, let me just, like, give this to my mom or something. And she's like, no, I'm an amazing cook, like, you should try this, it will change your whole entire perspective on seafood, on life, I will change your life, it's really good for you, too. And I was like, no, thank you, I really don't want to eat this, like, let me just give this to my mom, I'm good, I will eat something else, like, I believe you, I just don't want to. She's like, no, you have to eat this right now. And she made me eat it. I literally ate it.
You
and
ate
I
it?
like, I ate it. I
Niha.
like took a thing. And my mom walked in like right at the right time. And I'm like, oh, please help me.
Oh my
And
god.
she like took the thing from me. And I had to like go wash my mouth out because I hate fish. Like I hate seafood. I was
Imagine-
like, I
imagine
really
if,
got
like-
bullied into... I got bullied by an auntie today.
Imagine if she was allergic to something and
Oh.
she's in the same situation. She's like, she's allergic to nuts, and then some auntie's like, you have to try this. She would
Five
literally
Guys.
You have
go to the
to.
hospital and then be
I'd
like,
be like-
I'm sorry, I can't say no.
She's like stabbing herself with the EpiPen.
She's like, let me. But I did say no. But she basically gaslit me into like eating that shit. And I was like, please, I'm begging you. I do not want to eat this. And she was like, no, you got to eat it.
As
That
a
was my experience.
as a host, people, just try to look out for when other people are, having a little hesitation, I'll say. And as a guest, either just don't do what Niha did, basically. Do anything else but what Niha did.
I tried.
Okay, I saw this recently. I don't know if anybody else caught this, but like on the CDC website, right? They're putting out how to prepare for a zombie apocalypse. This is on the CDC website, and people have been sharing this around. So I know that we've had other diseases and whatever else that, they prepare us for, but now they're straight up just like, here's how to prepare if zombies take over. So I went on the site and I was like, is this real? Like, are we going to have a zombie apocalypse? But basically they're using it to try to get people to follow directions for any sort of pandemic, which is really kind of cool. But also I've seen certain people sharing it and certain orgs that have been passing this along, like get prepared for a real zombie apocalypse, which then it, passes along misinformation. But basically I want to ask you guys like how you guys would handle if a real zombie apocalypse happened. We used to glorify this happening when we were little, but now it doesn't seem super far off. I don't know if Shamir, you remember this, but like as kids, we would always be like, yo, like if this happened, like I would do this and this. But we got Niha and Hadia here, and I want to know kind of like your perspectives too of like if this really happened, if you're seeing like zombies literally breaking out, what's your reaction?
They'll do like TikTok reactions.
You guys are gonna hate my answer, but like I'd give up. I'd be like,
No.
okay, I don't want to live through that. I don't want to live through that.
You
What
would
do
let
mean?
them like
What's there
take
to
you, or
live
you would.
for?
Well, basically, you would become a zombie then.
Oh, they wouldn't just like
A
kill me.
hijabi zombie?
Ooh,
Yo,
I like the sound of
representation.
that.
Sounds like a rock band.
No, wait,
Hijabis.
they would turn me into a zombie, or they would just kill me. Because if they would just kill me,
No, I think the point of the zombie thing is like once they get you, then you're one of them. So
oh man, maybe I have to rethink it. No, I think I'd still give up. I don't really want to live through it, so they can turn me into a zombie.
God, you're so okay. Wait, let me hear for Niyati first.
It depends. If I'm like in a vicinity with like the people, like my friends, my family, and we have like a lot of food and like we plan that out and we can get there in time and everyone's good, like that's fine. Like I would live there forever. But if I was just sleeping one day and they just show up, I wouldn't like run or like put an effort to get away. Be like, this is my life and we have come to this point and the universe wanted this for me. So I will become a zombie. It'll be exciting.
You guys are so hopeless. Have you never seen Zombieland or I Am Legend?
Here's the thing. Why would I want to live through that? Why would I want that stress?
Have you seen either of those movies?
Unless I have it prepared.
No.
You've never seen Zombieland or I Am Legend?
No.
I Am Legend I think I've seen, but I haven't seen Zombieland.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna become a zombie from just your guys' comments
Oh my
on it.
god.
And
You're so dramatic. What would be your answer? What would you do?
Okay, well, if you watch those movies, well, Shamir, like maybe you'll give us some hope here. But what would you do?
My answer? Okay. I don't know if I've explained about my dad on this podcast.
Right. Okay, go ahead. Explain.
Turns out, or probably, if the zombie apocalypse happened tomorrow, I probably have a bunker in my basement already. I probably have vehicles that that are prepared for the zombie apocalypse.
Because your dad does pandemic preparation at all times.
He's prepared for everything. We have a fire extinguisher every 4 feet. We have floodlights in every room. I have 4 batteries that are connected to all my electronics. So when the power goes out, I still have power based on batteries. The pumping on my plumbing and all over the house has a backup generator. Basically a bunch of stuff. My dad's prepared for all this stuff. So
go to Shamir's house.
Come to my house.
Yeah.
I probably have all this stuff already. I just don't know it yet. My dad will probably press a button and all this zombie equipment comes out.
Like in I Am Legend when all the windows are metal, they shut down, the lights.
Yeah, that's probably how my house is right now, and I just don't even know. But honestly, I would like to see how my dad would react to that, because he'd be like, oh, we need to get this.
He'd be like, it's my time.
It's my time.
Shows up in an Iron Man suit.
I'm ready for this. But yeah, I think it would
I've
be
been
exciting
waiting
to
for
see.
this one.
You know what? I think, you know how at the beginning of Corona, it was kind of fun. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, it's a really like tragic thing that's going on in the world, but there was you always kind of like allude to this when you're like, I hope we get that time again where it's like everyone was locked down, you were forced to stay home, and it was kind of like cozy, right?
Yeah.
And everyone was kind of doing the same thing. So I mean, just from watching like certain zombie movies, I think that at the beginning it might be kind of fun where it's like, all right, you're gonna get like, a nice truck, you're gonna get your weapons ready, and you're just gonna go on a slashing spree and try to like basically survive, and anything is up for grabs when it comes to like, there's no business anymore. Like the grocery store is a place where you can just go into, take what you need. You can hide out in the White House. Like, this is the type of stuff we would see in the movies. I'm sure it wouldn't be like that.
I think in that scenario, like other people would be scarier than the zombies. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Like,
You're like
everyone would be, like,
glorifying
fending for
the
themselves.
chaos.
yeah, like they're probably defending for themselves, and they'd probably be like, like even the pandemic when the toilet paper, people were fighting for like about to kill each other for toilet
Yeah.
paper.
Yeah.
So,
No, it definitely, you're right. It would definitely wouldn't be like that, especially in this country.
Yeah.
But like, if you had a right squad,
yeah.
like that would kind of be fun, bro.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know how it would feel because it's like, if everybody's turning into a zombie, like if I see hijabi zombie Hadia coming up, then I'm like, do I kill her or like, do we wait for the vaccine to cure her?
No, put her in a TikTok and then like do the
You're
TikTok
like,
dance.
ooh.
TikTok dance.
Yeah.
Wait, do you think if
I
the
think
zombie
Hadia would be down.
do you think if a zombie apocalypse would happen, like people would tweet about it and just like make jokes and memes, or like,
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, for sure.
100%.
Like
Maybe
they
I'd
would
stick
be,
around for the memes.
they would
that
be
would
clowning and trolling the zombies. If they were really like slow and all
Yeah.
of that, like we see in the movies.
just imagine like like Tommy Loren or somebody like that turns into a zombie, and they're like, "Yo, look, you finally turned to a zombie."
Yeah. They're like, yo, Tommy Loren's a zombie, yo. That'd be funny. That would be really funny. I would just follow whatever Bernie Sanders says. I think he's the true leader.
Icon.
and
I
like
agree.
Joe Biden, I think he might already be a zombie, so I don't have to listen to anything he says.
Yo, y'all see?
You know who
what's his-
definitely is a zombie?
Who?
Oh, sorry, the prince.
That's
What's
who
his
I'm about to bring
that,
up.
that one, yeah,
The
I.
king.
Prince Harry? No, it's
The
not
king.
He's not. I don't think he's the king. Is
Yeah,
he the
no,
king?
he's not a king. He's
not
a
the
prince.
king.
He's a prince.
Prince Charles.
Prince Charles.
Yeah.
Prince Charles.
Yo, he's like 102.
He's gonna
He's
be
like-
the one to start the zombie apocalypse, and he's gonna be the one to end it.
That's exactly who I was thinking.
He's
of.
only
That's
72, but he looks way.
He
No.
looks like he could be dead.
No,
He
wait.
looks like he's
Sorry.
been dead for 10
99.
years.
He's 99.
Okay.
He's 9.
Prince-
Okay, that's more like it.
No. So
Wait.
Prince Philip is the one that's 99. Prince
Oh,
Charles
sorry.
is 72.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which
the one
one's
you
the
guys
one
are
that
talking about
looks-
is Prince Philip.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
my bad. Sorry, Prince Charles.
Sorry,
Sorry,
Prince
Julia.
He's
Charles.
the one. He's
I
the one that looks
apologize.
like
Sorry.
his time might have passed. The one that you guys are referring to.
Yes,
I've
I
heard
think-
rumors that some of these guys will take the blood of like young people to live longer. Have you ever
I
heard
believe
that?
it. I believe it.
I've
Yo.
heard
Look
that.
at him.
Yo,
Does he not look like he sacrifices children?
He does.
There's okay. This is kind of scary, but there's actually a company, a startup that takes blood of young people and injects them into older people.
No way. Really?
It's
I
already
actually. Yeah,
How do I
this.
invest?
I read this study for one of my or like my friend told me about it recently, and she said there's like this experiment where if you put like a young rat's blood into an older rat, the older rat starts acting young again. Like, she was just telling me about this. So she was like, the doctor was like, we just got to take young people's blood and put it in older people, and it's like basically vampirism, and you would live forever apparently.
Yeah.
So that was like his whole research thing. I'm like, that's concerning. Why can't you just accept your time has come?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Why
we
would you
even-
want to live for longer?
We even talked
in
one
this
time-
day and
Like,
age?
why?
We talked one time about on the podcast about like head transplants, which were or like a body transplant or something, and like, you know, all the ethics and stuff behind that. But basically, you know, there was a lot of, I watched this movie recently where somebody was able to save consciousness and download it. And then, and like, I think Elon talks about this sometimes, but it's such a, all of this is so interesting, and we don't know if like people already have it or whatever else is going on. But in that case, I'm with you, Hadi. I'm just like, yo, let me die, bro. I don't
Literally.
I don't know about all that. I don't like.
It's too much, man. Like, bro, nothing is worth that, to be honest. Like, there's nothing that I'm like, I have to live for like 110 years. That would be a pain. I don't want to live that long.
Well, I mean, I think that like something like faith helps you kind of come to terms with, you know, an ending or whatever else. But when you, you know, don't really have purpose, I guess, or see anything afterwards, or are fearful of what's, you know, to come, then it becomes much more practical to think of things like this. And also, people are definitely going to be buying into it, and it's going to be an industry. And
absolutely,
it's just a matter of time. But yeah, I can't wait to see what happens.
Talk about sustainability.
Right. How perfect. Yeah.
how perfect.
On that note, you know, Shamir basically said it, but we'll introduce our guest, who is really amazing and educational about this topic. But basically, our stranger this week is a creative artist and sustainability advocate who uses fashion, art, and heritage to bring awareness about sustainability. She has a desire to apply it to her own brand very soon. And like I said, you know, she's really great, very patient with us, and she answers a lot of awesome questions. I think you guys are really going to like this one. So please welcome our stranger, Niha Elety. Welcome, Niha.
Welcome.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Are you telling the truth?
Yes.
Wait, why do you think she's lying?
It sounded a little bit sarcastic. I don't know.
Oh,
She was
no.
like, she was like, great.
Before the podcast, she said she's more annoying than us. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, in what way though?
I don't know. You'll see.
Is it like one of those annoying because you're so smart, or annoying that like, well, I guess we're annoying because we just are dumb. So
Yeah, it's
so that's
definitely
the only
it's
opposite.
the second option for sure.
No way.
Can't be.
We saw the bio. We were like, okay, yeah, she's gonna be educating us quite a lot.
Oh no, I hope you don't hold me to that, but we'll see.
Yeah, you're based out of Texas, right?
Yes, currently based out of Dallas, Texas.
Okay, we got to talk about this snowstorm that you guys recently had. This was something unexpected for you, right?
Yes, very unexpected. Texas doesn't really get much snow, as a lot of people probably know. I mean, we do get like a flurry here and there, like once a year, but never like 4 to 6 inches of snow, which is a lot in a long time.
I'm sure at first it was like a little exciting, but then later on, did you face all like the power outage and all the other kind of stuff that was going on, the water issues?
Yeah, so at first, it was really exciting because, you know, it doesn't really snow often here, but then you got to remind yourself that this isn't normal and that, you know, global warming is obviously causing this. So I guess my excitement died down pretty quickly. But then, yeah, for me personally, I live very close to the airport, so I was on their power grid and I was really lucky to not have had any power outages. But I do have a lot of friends where they would have to sit in their car for hours because they didn't have power and sort of work out of their car. And other friends whose ceilings literally fell through due to the water. So yeah, I luckily didn't face too many problems, just a few water problems.
Like nothing was ready for this. Like I heard like Texas was just, the infrastructure was not ready for this at all.
Yeah, no, the infrastructure wasn't ready, but I think more than that, it was the energy providers just not planning properly. they didn't plan for the demand of non-renewable resources being used during the winter time. But surprisingly, the renewable energy was actually forecasting or actually producing more energy than forecasted. So, I mean, it was clearly just bad planning on their end.
Okay, here's my first dumb question. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but like, how is this global warming? Like, isn't global warming when the ice caps are melting and like everything should be getting what is it? Or is it climate change? Like, is that the right?
Or yes, I guess climate change is something that climate change is actually very normal. Even before we used to, or even before industrialization, the climate was changing for a long time, as you know, like the Ice Age and like, I mean, I'm not going to get too into everything, but climate change is something that's normal. But with global warming, clearly, you know, the Earth's temperature is rising overall. And what's sort of causing these snowstorms in the southern region of the U.S. is mainly the polar vortex. And so right now, as the world is heating up, the ice caps in the North Pole are melting. And in that region, we have the polar jet stream, which is an air current. I know this is getting a little sciencey.
No, I'm just looking at Shamir's face to see if he's getting it, and I should just like stand here and like nod my head and be like, we're on the same page. Yeah,
I'll try my best to explain it. But there's a bunch of air jet streams that are sort of above the Earth, like many miles above the Earth, and the polar jet stream is one of them. And so as the temperature is sort of rising overall, it creates a low pressure. The pressure is sort of like across the Earth is sort of distributed in a way where the Arctic has very low pressure air. But now, because of the Earth just warming up overall, it's sort of pushing that to the south. So southern regions, like in the south of the U.S., are now feeling that cold air. And that's sort of why we're getting snow. That wasn't the best explanation, but
no, that actually it actually helped make sense, because in my head I was just like, global warming. I thought everything's supposed to be melting and we're going to be in like getting flooded with water because the sea levels are going to rise or whatever. And I don't know what I thought it was. But all this is important because of your kind of background and passion, which we'll talk about in a minute. But overall, how are you and your family doing right now? I see that you have power. You got great Wi-Fi, which is always a plus for our guests. But
Yes.
How's everything else? Is the snow all gone now or what?
Yeah, no, it's been a few weeks. I think the snow melted. What's interesting is that a few days after, it was 70 degrees. So all the snow is gone. It's been gone for a few weeks now.
See,
So
in
we're all
Maryland,
good.
we'll get like negative weather, and then the next day it'll be like 70, and then the
Yeah.
next day it'll be like a hurricane. So
Yeah.
we don't understand the concept of climate change here, because the climate is always just like
Changing.
shooting us in the face every day, basically. And you better be ready for anything.
Yeah,
So-
no, I had the similar experience when I was in North Carolina as well. So
Okay. Yeah. I guess-
hurricanes all the time.
Yeah. Northeast is sometimes like that year round. But so Niha, you're a creative artist and sustainability activist. First of all, what does that mean? Like, what's your mission? Sustainability activist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would rather say sustainability advocate. I don't know if I wrote activist or advocate, but yeah, I would say advocate mainly because I'm just trying to push the message that a lot of activists on the ground are working hard to push. And so for me, I do that through the mediums of art, fashion, and cultural heritage. So that's sort of my mission overall. And my other mission as a designer is to work with different communities in India. So I'm currently actually starting a sustainable fashion brand soon. But yeah, those are my two primary goals right now.
I
Yeah,
feel
and-
really bad right now because my sweater right now is from Forever 21, which is a very fast fashion, very bad for the environment probably. But I've worn this for like 3 years, 4 years.
Oh, what a great human being.
So, yeah, like, I guess I don't want to get straight into it, but is fast fashion bad if the fast fashion you're buying you wear for like years and years on end?
So, I mean, this is the big, like one of the big questions, right? I think overall we need to interrogate the systems rather than the individuals. I mean, individuals can only do so much. And when they don't have access to things, it's a lot harder. So, you know, a lot of luxury items are just not accessible in terms of price point. And it's the people in the positions of power that are exploiting garment workers, that are sort of creating environmental destruction. And so I think really pointing at the people at the top is really important. But obviously, as an individual, it is important to make smart choices as much as you can and as much as you're able to. So, I mean, yes, that is fast fashion, but you've been wearing it for 4 years. So I think there's, you know, a good and bad to both sides.
The first time I heard this term fast fashion was when I watched this episode of Patriot Act with Hassan Minaj, and he was talking about, you know, Zara and Fashion Nova and these other brands that kind of just like whatever's going on in the industry, they quickly replicate it, get it made, put it out there, and a lot of it goes to waste. So when, first of all, like, can you kind of dive deeper into that of like what your understanding of fast fashion is and why it might be like problematic for those that don't understand the term or haven't seen that episode that I might be referring to?
Yeah, so fast fashion is essentially just a insane amount of clothing that's being produced by a lot of widely known retailers. For example, H&M, Zara are the two big ones, but we kind of don't realize that it goes beyond a lot of that. There's like Urban Outfitters, Anthropology, all these other places that you might not necessarily associate with being fast fashion are. Most brands in general are fast fashion, but essentially what fast fashion is it's predicated on speed and just creating a lot of clothes and promoting overconsumption to consumers. So it basically thrives on trends, putting out new trends every single week, making people really want to buy these items. But the main problem with it is obviously the overproduction. Our planet cannot handle that whatsoever. As well as the toxic chemicals they use in creating these clothes, the way that they treat garment workers. So I think something that has sort of brought to light a lot of the problems is the Rana Plaza factory collapse back in 2013. This is where a factory in Bangladesh was predicted to collapse because I think the structure wasn't, there wasn't any structural integrity in that building, and there were a lot, like thousands of garment workers working there. But a lot of pressure from these big brands like H&M and Zara were sort of pressurizing those people to stay and continue to work, even though they knew it wasn't structurally sound, and the building collapsed. And so I think that's mainly what started the shift in conversation and got people to start thinking about fast fashion. And I mean, a few other quick points, like a brief introduction to fast fashion is also the way that they treat garment workers. So
it's like complex. There's many sort of
there's
overlapping
so many
issues.
facets. You know, they aren't paid fairly. They're paid per piece, so they're not get paid per hour. They're just paid by how many pieces they complete. And so there's just a lot of problems.
Is this across the board? Is it like you're saying, you know, they're not paid this much or whatever? Like, are they all using the same system, the same country, same factories to make their garments? Or are you saying like the, you know, general, I guess the main sort of names?
Yeah, no. So it's a lot of brands, to be quite honest. It's many brands that you hear and see of. And I think it's mainly because the industry is unregulated, the fashion industry. There's no, you know, minimum wage. There's no, I mean, which is obviously by country, but also there's no policies and structures in place to sort of regulate the industry. And a lot of the countries, as you mentioned, are in the area that people call the global south. So that would be countries like India, other countries in South Asia, countries in Africa, in East Asia. So that's what those are the places that were colonial. Like, I mean, a lot of colonialism and imperialism happened in those places. And, you know, people came there for a lot of the textiles, craft, you know, other things. But I think we're seeing that colonialism still prevail today, but in a different way.
How do we find like a company, or like how do we know what company, you know, companies that are treating their workers correctly? Or, you know, like I feel like it's very hard. Like I feel like most companies that we deal with all the time that we're wearing probably have these issues.
Not even that, but just like anything that you eat, anything that you participate in, any app that you're on, you find out that like, oh, this country is, you know, bombing a bunch of people here, or like some random thing. I'm like, oh, I can't
use my iPhone. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's like,
yeah, I can't eat my favorite food anymore. I can't wear my favorite brands anymore. Like, yeah.
Right.
So how do you, what's your way of navigating through that, or having to compromise in certain situations if you do?
Yeah, I mean, it is really hard to navigate, especially when, you know, we're individuals. You know, we're not causing all this destruction. It's mainly the people in power, and it's hard. For me, what I do is I mainly focus on what I genuinely care about, what I know I can sustain with the lifestyle that I'm living. So for me, I know that mainly when it comes to fast fashion, I just like to reuse what I have. I like to repair my clothes so that I don't have to buy as much. If I do, I thrift, which is an accessible version of, you know, buying clothes.
And it's a trend.
And it now it's a trend. Now everyone wants to thrift all of a sudden. But yeah, so I think doing things like that can really help. Just doing stuff that you know that you can within your own power. Because, you know, another thing that's really important in just the world of sustainability is making sure that you take care of yourself. Self-care is incredibly important. So if you're trying to do everything that there is, you'll drive yourself insane. So you just need to do what you can. And obviously make an effort as well. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this, but like a lot of YouTubers or just, I guess, content creators will have their own line of merch, and it's like you can drop ship and, you know, quickly get it made and all of that. Do you know about that industry at all?
I don't know too much. I haven't heard the best things about the drop shipping industry, I'll say that. But I mean, I personally am not a fan of merch. Just because I feel like it promotes unnecessary consumption. But I mean, it definitely depends, right? On
that's like us. We got new merch out. New Strange Flavors merch out now.
It depends. I feel like, I mean, if people are dropping merch just to drop merch for like no reason, I just don't see the point. But I mean, definitely I would love to, you know, purchase merch from like organizations or like people that like are doing great things. But if it's just like unnecessary, then, you know, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, well, this is why I wanted to have the conversation with you, because like you know, you can be as honest you want with us, but basically as content creators, I think a lot of us, you know, this is the lane that is profitable to us.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, you can't get monetized anywhere. If you are, it's very little money. I don't want to make an OnlyFans. So like, let me drop this merch, and then it's like, oh, you know, if it's adding to the already like problematic industry of fast fashion and clothing in general, then it's just like, what other outlets are there? And I know you said earlier that you're like, you know, it's not always the individual's fault, but even if like, for example, there are options when we go to create merch, right? Where there's like eco-friendly options, right? But then it drives the price up so much, and then people are like, I'm not about to pay like, you know, $30 for a t-shirt or $100 for a sweatshirt. And it's like, what do you do at that point, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a great question. I think it also comes down to how we as consumers have sort of understood the value of clothing. So when you look at these t-shirts, when you go to like fast fashion websites, you see that they're like $5 or $10. And you just really have to ask yourself, like, how is a t-shirt worth the same as like a meal that I'm buying today? Like, how does that even make sense that it's worth that much? The fact that this overproduction and exploitation has driven prices to be this low is just insane. And so I think for a lot of people, when it comes to understanding the value of clothing, you just have to, I guess, just understand that these people have put a lot of work into these clothes. These materials are, very well thought out and made, and buying less is something that helps you buy well. So if you're not over consuming and buying like 50 t-shirts, and you just choose to buy like a smaller number of clothing, but you're buying well and you're buying pieces that you're going to wear again and again, then at the end of the day, it's not as bad for the environment or even bad on your wallet.
Yeah. Yo, shout out to Ross and TJ Maxx. Would you agree?
Not on my end, but
wait. Because they're reselling clothes that would have otherwise gotten thrown out, right?
Okay, so the thing about places like Ross and TJ,
I don't even want to hear. I'm going to take my headphones off. I can't even get a shirt from Ross anymore, Niha. Come on.
I mean, see, I'm not gonna tell you what choices to make. Obviously,
tell the truth. It's fine.
But when it comes to places like Ross, recently, I think within the past few years, garment workers in LA organized a strike against Ross because they didn't pay them. I think, I'm not sure about the exact number, but it was a significant number of their wages. They didn't pay their garment workers, and the garment workers organized and unionized, and then they protested, and they finally were able to get their wages back. But a lot of their workforce is undocumented in LA, and they sort of use that as an excuse to silence them because they can't really say anything and pay the wages that they do pay. A lot of places like TJ Maxx also, I feel like originally might have started off as surplus, but now they just from what I know, they produce more clothing and then they just sell it in there. It's not always just an excess inventory.
Oh,
really?
So these places now make their own clothes, or they always make their own clothes?
I'm not sure about the history, but they do make their own clothes now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you rock a Ross sweatshirt if it said Ross across it? But what about that mod? Like, from what I guess we thought of it was that model of like, taking clothes that weren't going to be sold, and then like the intent of that is still obviously the point on the wages is valid, but if there is a system like that, that's what thrift stores are basically, right?
I would say, yeah, there is a amount of surplus clothing that goes into thrift stores and secondhand clothing. I think it's like a combination of both. So yeah, for me, the thrift store model just makes a lot more sense because it also promotes circularity, which means, you're using something again and again, and you're using it again without actually having to dismantle that product and try and recycle it. Like, you're using it in its original state, which is even better. So yeah, models like that, I definitely think are the way to go in the future.
You know what I've always found weird is like when you see a bunch of like African kids with like the old Super Bowl, or like the team that didn't win the Super Bowl, their shirts and their gear. Have you ever seen this?
No, I haven't.
No.
So like, they obviously, when somebody wins the championship, this is for many sports, they have the apparel ready to go. So it says Super Bowl champs, and then they have the logos and all of that. So then there's like, I don't even know, hundreds, maybe thousands of shirts, hats, other gear that, nobody can wear anymore because that team didn't win, and it would be inaccurate in America to have that on. So then it's not just Africa, but other countries will get the clothing from there, and then they're wearing the...
Oh, like overseas they'll have it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Which is ultimately, I
That is
guess,
so
a good
true.
thing because they're not throwing it out, but it's still like, I have a weird feeling about that because, like, you're wearing something that wasn't gonna get, or can't be used, like, when it comes to the logistics of it, I guess. You get what I mean?
Yeah. I
It's a
mean,
weird thing.
that brings up a really important point because, like, something else that's just really important to understand when you are thinking about the fashion industry is how much, or not even the fashion industry, just in general, the way countries sort of, play with each other. So a lot of, wealthier westernized nations do send their waste over to all these other countries in the global south, right?
Yeah.
And that includes the clothes that you just mentioned. And so they sort of, send their excess clothes or unwanted clothes or donated clothes. But what this causes is a lot of waste in the other countries, and they don't know how to, and they're not able to manage all the waste because it's not theirs. And they have trade deals with these big countries, and these countries are like, no, we're going to end our trade deal if you don't continue accepting this waste from us. And so it's caused a huge problem. It has caused a secondhand local economy in places like Africa where they will, create, or they've sort of created a system out of that, and just, selling it around Africa to different places. But it does ultimately, show who has the power at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's like if you see it here, as soon as the team wins, the worth is like $50 for a t-shirt. But the other one has $0 in value after the team loses.
Wow.
Like, that's crazy, right? It's such a weird concept. So you said you lived half your life in India. Mm-hmm. Do you happen to know how India handles the topic of sustainability when it comes to fashion particularly?
Yeah, so I lived in India from the age of like 11 until I had to leave for college. And a lot of my family's still there. My parents were still there. So I still considered myself as living there because I would go back every winter and summer in college. But my parents moved back here to Dallas with me just recently because of the pandemic and whatnot. Yeah, but basically in India, I mean, you hear of a lot of garment workers being exploited in India, but that's by, other bigger names like H&M and Zara and whatnot. But when it comes to sustainable fashion, I think a lot of us growing up in India, as well as people in the diaspora who've like gone to India, can definitely see that in India, sustainable fashion is just fashion. It's a concept. Before it was a concept, that's just the way we sort of lived. Similarly to other places in the world, similarly to a lot of indigenous communities. So inherently the production of garments in India is sustainable, when it's not being produced by fast fashion brands. So for example, most consumers are aware of the process of creating clothes in India, right? Because you will buy your fabrics from weavers, artisans in India, and get them stitched by your local tailor. A lot of these fibers will be fibers like khadi, jute, cotton, linen, silk, and things like that, which are all natural fibers. And your local tailor will stitch them, and you're essentially supporting your local economy, buying sustainable fabrics and creating your own clothes. So this is, genuinely the definition of slow and transparent fashion. And a lot of luxury designers in India and a lot of up and coming designers do follow this model for the most part. So for me, when it comes to fashion in India, I feel like at least now they're really trying to reclaim what we used to do, because in the past, with the rise of things like colonialism and the Industrial Revolution, our relationships between land and labor were cut and we became very dissociated. And so, post that era, we're trying to go back to the original ways of creating clothes within India. So I think it's definitely moving in a positive direction.
That's really awesome to hear, because
Yeah.
even in Pakistan, right? I grew up there, and I remember hating this process as a kid, but I appreciate it so much now, where my sister, mom, all my cousins, we would spend hours and hours and then days going back and forth, picking out all the fabrics and this and that for like weddings and all different occasions. But then from my experience of what my family does, a lot of that clothing gets passed down as well. So my sister might get like my grandmother's old, whatever she wore at a wedding or something like that. And just like that, exchanged between cousins and all of that. But I wasn't sure like the concept of fast fashion, because like people do have a high regard for brands and stuff like that. But that's still relatively new compared to like our pride in our own fabric and creation of those things. I'm sure there's other problems that exist when it comes to like payment and all of that, and just from watching bargaining going on, like, how much everyone is getting a cut out of all of that. But ultimately, I think it's like you're saying, the kind of process of everything being natural and, done on spot sounds like it's a good thing.
Yeah, like the culture of India, I guess, when it comes to creating clothes, it's like more acceptable, and like people enjoy that process. Like in America, I think we were getting like suits tailored and stuff, and like the suits are super expensive, and like the tailoring was super expensive. We're like, we don't even want to like do this that much, and most people, just throw away the clothes if it's too big or too small.
Well,
Or-
also, it's not their clothes. Like, they didn't make it. They're just charging us that much. It's an Indian or like a Bengali person or whatever, Pakistani person that made it. So that's what's like annoying about it when it comes to like the value of it. It's really interesting. But so when you want to bring over, your heritage and apply some traditions, like, is that what you mean when it comes to like some of those concepts, or is it just borrowing like certain aspects of the culture when it comes to designs and all of that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely both. So right now in I think all over the world, what's being fed to us in terms of the concept of sustainability very much comes through the white gaze, in terms of, statements like, oh, we need to reduce our carbon footprint, we need to, for example, just like buy a bunch of zero waste things. And like at the end of the day, a lot of that is when it comes to things like carbon offsets, like how is that even a real thing? Like, you're just paying to justify, the carbon that you're creating, which is that just doesn't, sit right with me, that they're sort of profiting off of this. And a lot of the, I guess the green capitalism that's sort of happening around the world is like, they're just trying to make money off of this concept of sustainability and this whole
like when
marketing that's
Apple
going
says,
everywhere.
oh, we're going green with all of our products and stuff.
No chargers.
But I've heard that like that's not that's a gimmick, because they're just gonna make you buy the charger, which is ultimately gonna come in another case.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just, I mean, it's still what do you call it? It's still promoting consumption in some way, or some form. And I think it's just important to instead view sustainability from the lens of Black people, of Indigenous people, and people of color around the world who have lived sustainability for like millions of years. Whereas, in the West, it's sort of treated like this new concept that can be fixed by technology. But when you really think about it, you have to go back to the past to really, incorporate it into this future that we're trying to create. And a lot of it is, for me, I think really moving towards how we value it, or how we look at economy. Because right now, when it comes to economies, we're sort of, we only really value monetary profit or productivity, and that's sort of what's considered economic growth. But I think we need to change the definition of economic growth to be, is our planet thriving? Are these ecological systems and habitats doing well? Is our community, are our communities doing well? Are people caring for each other and taking care of each other in our communities and socially? So I think all of that is the main shift that I think is important to see.
Is there a country? Oh, sorry. Is there a country that you see that's kind of in that path or doing that?
I wouldn't say it's a particular country. I would say for me, Indigenous people are the people to look towards the most. Obviously, without co-opting what they're doing, for sure. But they're definitely the people with the most knowledge. They're very tight-knit with their communities. They care about their land. They care about other people. And it's just the way they've been living and able to sustain that for years and years and years. I think they're the people to look at moving forward when it comes to sustainability.
Have you ever heard somebody tell you something like, okay, well, this is a capitalist society. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. And what is your response if so? Or if somebody were to say that to you?
I mean, if somebody were to say that to me, I guess my response would mainly be like, there's many other types of societies that don't fall within the realm of capitalism, of socialism, of communism, that are thriving today. Millions of indigenous tribes around the world have their own systems, and they're doing incredibly. So, what is a very narrow amount of what's actually possible in terms of economies.
For people wondering, I guess, like, what is the definition of thriving? Like, is it fulfilling the basic needs, like food, water, shelter, or what does that possibly entail?
Yeah, I think when I use the terms like thriving, it is definitely fulfilling those basic needs, but it's also fulfilling the idea of self-care and just community care and healing. So it's fulfilling all of that.
So it depends also then on what you value, right? Like if you want to be, if we're told constantly that like, oh, look at these billionaires and look at how, they're succeeding and this is the goal, and we value being a billionaire, then you would have to do these things, basically, kill the world around you to achieve these goals. But if, like you're saying, you care about self-care, if you care about preserving your land, your people, your traditions, then according to that, then we need to be sustainable, right?
Yeah, essentially, that's what I would say.
Yeah. So you did say that you're an aspiring fashion designer. You said you hope to launch your own regenerative, size, gender inclusive brand within the next few months. Okay. Now you're going to have to explain this to me again. Let's start with the regeneration thing. Does that basically mean using old clothes to make new clothes?
Yeah. So, I really do admire a lot of designers that use, surplus clothes or offcuts of clothing to create clothes. But for me, I'm mainly focusing on, you can't do everything, right? You kind of have to choose what you want to focus on and do it well. So for me, I am focusing on working with people in India who are doing regenerative agriculture to create the fibers for the clothes. So they're regeneratively creating cotton and using that cotton to, in hand looms, so hand looming it and then turning that into the clothing piece. But it's actually, that's just the actual, cloth part of it. The main mission of what I'm trying to do is raise awareness about indigenous communities in India, otherwise known as Adivasi communities, which a lot of people around the world don't know about. But even within India, they don't know about their lifestyles, their cultures, and their craft. So for me, I'm trying to... So the brand is not centered around me at all. It's completely centered around these Adivasi communities. And with each collection, we're highlighting different communities and their culture so that people can learn more about them. And a lot of the funds, a significant percentage, is actually funneled back into the communities that create them. So it's sort of reimagining the way we distribute wealth within a company, especially like fashion.
That's really cool. I've thought about this concept a few times where it's like, okay, if I were to have a fashion line and I go to Pakistan and, find some sort of system that is good for the workers, makes really nice clothing, and also ultimately benefits them, but then we're able to sell it here. Is that ultimately doing what kind of these fast fashion things, besides the fast part, are doing, where it's like using another country's resources to, sell and thrive in a different country? Or is that ultimately a better thing because other people would be doing that anyways? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, so you need to also acknowledge that, you are Pakistani, right? It's not like you're from some other country coming and like, you're like, oh, wow, like Pakistan has all this culture and heritage and I want to like, sort of profit off of it. But, I don't know anything about this culture. I'm just trying to put it out there and act like I created this thing, if that makes sense.
Sure.
For you, like you're going to Pakistan and you're trying to tap into your own heritage. And like you said, if you do everything in a way that's, responsible, respectful, then I don't really see a problem.
Yes, because one time I found a jacket that I was wearing and I really liked it a lot. And I'm like, where did this come from? Because sometimes we, Shamir and I will like dabble into that because we like creating clothes and stuff. And so I looked at my jacket and I was like, where is this from? And it said made in Pakistan. I was like, hold up. I need to be doing this. Like,
what uncle? What uncle's making it?
Okay, and then what about the size gender inclusive thing? Does that mean clothes for all sizes and genders, or like one size, unisize, if that's a word, unisex clothing?
Yeah, so what I mean by size inclusivity is, having a wide range of sizes that, work for a variety of people. It's definitely not one size because, as we know, in life, one size doesn't fit all. Everyone's incredibly, diverse and complex in the way they are. So it's having a wide variety of sizes.
But isn't that already existent or no?
It does exist. It's not like it's a new concept. But a lot of fashion brands, like a large number, are not size inclusive. Like if you look at how many sizes they have, they probably go up to 2XL maximum. And so finding clothes for people who are past that, like 5XL, 6XL, they really struggle to find clothing. So especially within the world of sustainable fashion specifically, like every sustainable brand I know mainly caters to, smaller sized people. It's slowly
real quick
changing,
on that, like, so if there's less people, I'm trying to understand this, so bear with me. If there's less people who fit that size margin, right? Then wouldn't it be a waste to produce sizes for them? And also, like, you'd be losing out on money. You'd be spending more to include that size. You get me?
So that's the reason a lot of, fast fashion or bigger companies like don't really put in the money or the effort. But you're literally not including a lot, especially in the US. Like there's a huge population of people that are plus sized in the US.
Huge population.
So yeah, no, a lot of people aren't included, even though it might seem like a smaller number to other people.
Here it makes sense, I think.
And the other thing, though, is you can choose to produce a smaller number. It's not like you have to produce as much as the other sizes. You just distribute your sizes based on how many you're selling. And
so just so to like have the option, I think.
Yeah, you need to have, at the end of the day, have the option. And that's the other reason people should be manufacturing in small quantities and not these large number of clothes, because you need to understand how many people are actually going to end up buying it.
Yeah, but again, look, another issue, right? You to produce, I guess this applies to like the whole drop shipping thing, maybe only unless you were doing it yourself. There has to be a certain number that you order and to even get it printed. And it's like you have to get a lot printed. So you can't even do like that option of like, all right, let me try this out. Let me sample it.
You mean the minimum order quantities that you have to do?
Yeah.
So the thing about that is a lot of sustainable brands do own their supply chains. And if they don't, I think going with the minimum order quantity is probably the best option. If not, if you own your own supply chain, if you own the places that are producing everything, obviously that's up to your discretion at the end of the day, like how much you're making. But there are, trust me, enough people that will fit those size requirements because people have been asking for it for quite a long time.
Yeah. And then on the unisex thing, was it that you want to be able to have for like multiple genders, or more so like one type of clothing that fits either or any gender?
Yeah, so for me, when I talk about this brand, I guess I'm mainly saying it's just celebrating people on the size and gender spectrums. So what I mean by that is traditionally clothing has been categorized into the binary man and women genders. And when you really think about it, clothing is just a piece of cloth and it doesn't really have a gender. And in the past, Alok V. Menon is someone I learned a lot from. They are a non-binary person, and they've talked a lot about, in the past, in Europe especially, there is a lot of men that, they started the whole trend of wearing makeup, wearing dresses, wearing heels, etc. And then in India and South Asia, there's definitely a lot that you see in terms of skirts, lungis, other garments that have been there for years and years, as well as within Hinduism, there's a lot of what am I trying to say? There's like information when it comes to androgynous gods and things like that. So when you look to these other cultures, you realize that gender isn't really a binary, and that's a construct that we've been fed by the Western world. And so for me, I'm just trying to celebrate genders. A lot of the silhouettes are feminine or masculine. It's not like I'm trying to create a clothing silhouette that's just like a big frumpy t-shirt that sort of fits everyone. It's just not labeling the clothing and allowing people to freely choose what they want to wear.
Well, I guess when it comes to tailoring something, then it makes sense where you're, for example, when you're getting a suit fitted to you, right, that has to be a certain fitting to you. But what you're saying is that it's funny because what you're calling a lungi we'll call like a dhoti, but if you put that on, it's fine. But if you put the shiny mirrors on it, now it's a sari, and now it's no longer for a man. I never thought about it like that way, but that was interesting. It's all I guess it's when we make things a really big deal, the way that we look at it, and because things have been fed to us a certain way, then you break down some of those barriers and look at it in like the sustainability lens, especially. Even for us, when we're doing our merch and stuff, it helps us out that like we can just put unisex everything, because having multiple sizes, it's a waste, and then also it's like more options and it's annoying. But overall, like, the more you give other people the ability to just choose and make that option available for them, then it's easier on everybody's part, and it doesn't necessarily say what your beliefs are or something like that, which I think people are usually scared of when it comes to a lot of these things. That's why I even asked this question in this way about like the genders and whatever, because it's hard to navigate that these days. But you're really just making things that would fit a lot of people, and like when you're doing the silhouettes, you're saying that it's meant to I guess apply to the male and what did you say? I'm sorry, I don't want to.
So
butcher.
For example, like there's like I have some crop tops or like a skirt or like a pant or like a hoodie, but I'm not assigning a gender to them, because anyone, regardless of their gender, can wear a crop top or pants if they choose to, and if they want to, if that makes sense.
So like if you go to like any I'll just say American Eagle or something, there's like a guys, girls section. Like,
Yeah.
what would be on yours? Just all the clothes there?
Just all the clothes. Eliminating the sections is what it really means to degender fashion.
Cool. Well, Niha, what's kind of like your, what are you currently involved in right now? You said that this is something that you've been working on, but I know that you have like a side gig you do, and you know, what are the next like 5-10 years looking for, what you hope?
Yeah, I guess within the next 5-10 years, I hope this space just has room for a lot more diverse voices, and I hope to continue to be one of them. I think I also really want to, you know, make this brand as successful as I can, and essentially just raise awareness about the different indigenous communities in India and essentially around the rest of the world through my brand. So that's my main focus for the next 5 to 10 years on the side, because I have a normal, you know, day job, but this is all what I'm trying to do as much as I can when I have time.
Yeah, could you tell people, if you're comfortable with that, like about you know, what you do aside from this? Because I think it's cool that you're basically funding your passion through what you do on the side, and it'd be interesting for people that want to get into something like this.
Yeah, so, you know, I work at a corporation, which is, you know, it might sound like interesting to people, like, oh wow, like you're into sustainability, but I think it's important to, you know, wherever you are, try your best to make that place better. And it's important for us to be in places like this so that we can actually create change. So my 9-to-5 is at IBM. And I do technical work there. I actually studied biomedical engineering in college, so I didn't study fashion or anything.
She's smart.
But I'm not applying it at my job, clearly. So yeah.
I imagine you just going around the workplace, like putting recycle bins everywhere, collecting people's bottles. Like,
I did start a sustainability group at work.
Oh my god.
She's like, Tom, where's your shirt from? All the corporate things that are like coming in. I don't know if you guys wear like uniforms or anything, but that'd be funny if it was.
Yeah.
Like, this has to be sustainable.
Yeah. I mean, well, luckily we don't.
Very cool.
And yeah, I mean, I haven't forwardly asked anybody where their shirt is from, but.
Niha, you've been absolutely incredible and patient with us, and you know, just gave us so much information, and we appreciate you for that. And we can't wait to see what you do with your brand and everything. That'll be really exciting to look out for. So thank you for all of that. Where can people find you and you know, look forward to all of this new work that you'll be coming out with?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. It's at Niha Elety, so NIHAELETY. That's my primary platform. Hoping to diversify my social media soon, but I don't know if I have time for that.
Awesome. That's perfect.
Yeah.
We'll include that in the bio. And last thing is, you are on the show Strange Flavors, so we have to ask you an extremely important question at the end of it. So Shamir, you want to take that away?
You could describe yourself in any flavor. What would it be and why?
I know this sounds like a very LA like celebrity answer, but I would say like matcha.
Okay. Why? It doesn't matter what your flavor is. It matters why you choose it. Why it describes you. Tell us.
Yeah. Well, it's green and it reminds me of like the natural world.
Okay.
It has a very earthy taste, which also reminds me of the world. So I think it just kind of represents my love and passion for sustainability and the earth. So.
Wow.
Amazing. We love it. She is matcha. She is incredible. That is Niha, everybody. Niha, thank you again for coming on Strange Flavors. And thank you all for listening to another episode of Strange Flavors. It's been another week.
Another flavor.
A little less stranger. We'll talk to you next time.